I never imagined that a mundane parking spot would lead to a heart-stopping confrontation. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was just another Tuesday. The sky was a dull gray, threatening rain, but I didn't care. I was late for a meeting at work, and all I wanted was to slide into a parking spot close to the entrance. As I turned the corner, my heart raced when I spotted it, the perfect space, just waiting for me. I pulled in quickly, hoping no one would swoop in at the last second. But as I opened the door, the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. There was something off about the empty lot, about the crisp air that felt charged with tension. Then I saw her. A woman standing by a car, arms crossed, staring at me. Her eyes were stormy, like they held secrets begging to be unleashed. My palms tingled with anxiety. I fumbled with my keys, wondering what I'd done wrong. Was it my fault? I hadn't even stepped out yet. I approached her, my heart hammering in my chest. "Is everything okay?" My voice barely carried over the ambient noise of engines and muffled conversations. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she leaned closer, as if the world around us had faded away. "You shouldn't park here," she whispered, voice frighteningly low. My pulse quickened. What was she talking about? It was a public lot. I glanced around nervously, but no one else seemed to notice. It was just the two of us against the backdrop of an ordinary day, and yet everything felt wrong. "Who are you?" I managed, still trembling. With that question, the weight of the air thickened. Her lips curled into a slight smile that sent chills down my spine. "You'll find out soon enough," she said cryptically. My throat tightened. Suddenly, she turned on her heel, walking towards the shadows of the nearby trees. I wanted to call after her, to demand answers, but my voice failed me. I watched her disappear into the obscurity, and in that moment, the world felt like it had flipped upside down. Shadows crept closer, swallowing the light around me. I felt exposed, raw, trembling with fear and confusion. I jumped when a loud horn honked, pulling me back to reality. My heart raced as I scanned the lot, desperately seeking a glimpse of that woman. But she was gone. Was she gone? Had her warning been more than just a vague threat? The heaviness in my chest deepened as I realized I couldn't shake off that chilling encounter. What was she trying to warn me about? A wave of dread washed over me. I looked at my car, suddenly feeling like it was just an island in a sea of uncertainty. The sun peeked through the clouds, momentarily blinding me. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain started to drizzle as I finally found my way to my office, each drop mirroring the tumult in my chest. I took a deep breath, forcing a smile as I greeted coworkers, but the woman's words echoed in my mind, drowning out the casual hum of office chatter. "You shouldn't park here." What did she mean? No one had ever warned me about this lot before. As I sat at my desk, I made every effort to focus on the spreadsheets in front of me, but they blurred into a jumble of numbers and colors. Someone knocked on my cubicle wall. I looked up to see Mara, a close friend from accounting, leaning in with concern etched on her face. "Hey, you okay? You seem off." "Yeah, just a weird morning," I replied, forcing lightness into my voice. "Want to talk about it?" I hesitated, weighing her kindness against the strange weight in my heart. Part of me craved the conversation, craved to unload these inexplicable fears. But would she understand? "I'll be fine," I managed, grabbing the nearest file as a distraction. Mara gave a slight nod, but didn't he leave? Let me know if you need anything. She lingered just long enough, her presence almost a lifeline, before disappearing down the corridor. The hours dragged on. My fingers danced over the keyboard, but my mind wandered back to the eerie encounter. I wondered if I had been too hasty. Perhaps I really shouldn't have parked there. As the clock ticked toward the end of the day, the sky cleared, revealing a canvas of soft pastels. But with that beauty came a reminder of the gloom hovering over me. I decided to leave early, still feeling the pull of that parking lot as if a thread tethered me to it. My usual route took me through a narrow alley lined with trees. Even their rustle seemed foreboding compared to the usual rustling leaves I found comfort in. Once I reached the parking lot, anticipation coiled in my stomach. I scanned the area. She was nowhere in sight. My hands trembled as I approached my car, thousands of what is swarming through my mind. Was she serious? Should I just get in and drive away? I hesitated, feeling the knot of uncertainty tighten. Suddenly, a familiar voice called from behind me. Hey! It was Leo, the janitor who often worked late. He was a kind older man, with a warm smile that could ease the heaviest heart. Hi, Leo. I forced a smile, grateful for this small moment of comfort. You're leaving early? He asked, wheeling a trash cart behind him. Yeah, just needed some fresh air, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper as I kept my eyes on the pavement to avoid his probing gaze. Haven't seen you around much lately. Everything all right? Just work stuff, you know? He nodded knowingly, his kind eyes assessing. Well, if you ever need to talk, I'm around. And don't park too close to those trees, they like to drop branches. I laughed lightly, appreciating how he lightened the ominous atmosphere. I'll keep that in mind. As I got in my car, the tension eased just a bit. I steadied myself, focusing on the mundane task of starting the engine. I pulled out of the lot, taking a deep breath of relief mixed with lingering anxiety. Maybe this was just a strange coincidence, I thought, easing into the rhythm of the road. But then my phone buzzed in the cup holder, a message lighting up the screen. It was from an unknown number. Heart hammering, I hesitated before reading it. Stop. Turn back. My breath hitched. I blinked at the harsh words. Was this a prank? Panic clawed at my insides. Memories of the woman flooded back the stormy eyes, the chilling smile. I quickly glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see her looming behind me, but the road was clear. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. Should I turn back? Perhaps she was right. Was this more than just a weird encounter? My heart raced with dread and anticipation. Should I? I thought. What lay in that lot that I had yet to discover? As I drove away, my mind swirled with uncertainty. The cryptic message replayed in my head like a haunting echo. Stop. Turn back. My heart beat like a drum, each pulse a reminder of the tension that surrounded me. I could almost feel the woman's eyes on my back, watching, waiting for me to make the wrong choice. The idea of turning around gnawed at me. The streets were alive with the evening buzz, people laughing, and the scent of food from nearby restaurants wafted through my open window. But the warm glow of life felt worlds away. I pulled into a nearby cafe parking lot, hands shaking slightly as I parked. The message loomed large in my mind. What had she meant? Why was this happening? Drowning in my thoughts, I sat there, staring at the cafe entrance, watching as people entered and exited with vibrant energy. I wanted to be one of them, the carefree souls wrapped up in their own lives. Instead, I felt like a ghost, tethered to the strange encounter that had changed my day. The temptation to call someone loomed over me, but who would understand? Mara was worried, but didn't he deserve to be dragged into my confusion? I could see Leo's comforting smile fading from my memory, overwhelmed by the dread now clouding my heart. The only other person I could think to call was Evan, my brother, and he hadn't been in my life lately. Wouldn't that just add another layer of complexity? Still, the idea of sharing this burden gnawed at me. I retrieved my phone, hovering over his contact, wondering if he'd even pick up. Before I could hit call, my phone buzzed again, a new message, also from that unknown number. My breath caught. I know what you did. A chill ran down my spine, and I immediately felt foolish for even contemplating ignoring the woman's warning. My mind raced through recent memories, dissecting each decision I'd made like an old TV show spinning back through a highlight reel. What did they know? What had I done that might warrant such ominous messages? Heart pounding and eyes darting to the cafe, I finally made the decision to go inside, seeking the warmth of a human connection. The bell above the door chimed, and the delightful aroma of freshly brewed coffee momentarily drew me in, but anxiety pulled heavily in my stomach. As I made my way to the counter, I noticed the barista, a young woman with a bright turquoise headscarf and a warm smile. "Welcome. What can I get for you?" she asked, her genuine cheeriness cutting through my cloud of worry. I hesitated, searching her kind eyes for an anchor. Just a cappuccino, please." She nodded, typing swiftly. "Got it. One cappuccino coming right up. You look like you've had a long day. Everything all right?" My pulse quickened, and I considered revealing a fragment of my turmoil, but the gnawing fear of judgment tightened my throat. "Just work stuff," I said again, the familiar words feeling hollow. The barista smiled knowingly, as if she possessed an understanding deeper than words. "I get it. It can be tough. Just remember to breathe. Here," she said, sliding a paper with a simple drawing of a flower, and the words "You are not alone" scribbled underneath. "Take this. It always helps me." I forced a smile, touched by her unexpected kindness. "Thank you." As I accepted the note, I tucked it into my pocket with a flicker of warmth igniting a tiny spark of hope amidst my confusion. Perhaps not everything was somber. Maybe moments like these could serve as beacons through the darkness. Just as I took a sip of my drink and started to collect my thoughts, the cafe door swung open abruptly. My heart dropped as I turned to see a figure I recognized from the parking lot, the woman with the stormy eyes, framed briefly against the dimming daylight. She was scanning the cafe, and I was frozen in place, a deer caught in headlights. Her gaze landed on me, and a chill swept through the room. It was as if time stalled, the chatter around me fading to silence. My heartbeat thudded in my ears, drowning everything else out, creating a cocoon of anxiety. What was she going to do? Then, just as quickly as she had entered, she turned and strode back out, disappearing like a specter into the night. The barista returned with my cup, sensing the shift in energy. "Everything okay?" "No," I muttered, my heart racing. "I think that woman. She was just here." "Want me to call someone?" she asked, concern flickering across her face. I glanced around, instinctively looking for the woman outside, but all I saw was fading light. No. I don't know what is happening." The words felt like a release, yet a heavy weight still hung in the air, and then my phone buzzed again, tearing my attention back. Another message. "This is not over. I am coming for you." A gasp escaped my lips, the chill creeping back into my bones. I looked to the barista, eyes wide with fear. "What am I supposed to do?" She leaned closer, her expression suddenly serious. "It's time to face your fears. You are not alone. Remember that." But as a wave of decision loomed ahead, the fear constricted my chest. Would I summon the courage to uncover the truth behind her haunting words? Or would I let the shadows envelop me, trapped in the chains of my own uncertainty? Even now, uncertainty clouding my mind, I knew one thing was clear. The game had only just begun, and I was at the center of a storm I never saw coming. The cup trembled in my hands, the frothy espresso swirling as I fought to regain control of my racing thoughts. The barista's words echoed in my mind, but they felt like hollow platitudes amidst the chaos that had overtaken my life. My heart drummed against my ribcage as I squeezed my eyes shut, willing the dread stealing my breath to dissipate. I took a sip, each warm gulp grounding me in reality, reminding me I was still here, even if only by a thread. I was within four walls, complete with comforting smells and gentle chatter, a safe haven, at least for now. But safety felt fleeting, as real as the specter of that woman lurking just outside. "Look," I whispered to myself, self-talk weaving a thin layer of resolve around my spiraling emotions. "Whatever this is, it can't follow me in here." Yet even as I tried to convince myself, the fear remained. I glanced down at my phone, every vibration a strike against the fragile hope I was trying to build. The thought of responding to that message crossed my mind, but I hesitated. What if every word I typed brought more danger upon me? My eyes drifted towards the cafe window, where the intensity of the outside world seemed magnified. Employee uniforms, cyclists whizzing by, and laughter surrounding families framed a stark contrast to my internal turmoil. Slowly, I turned back to the barista, who was cleaning the counter, her turquoise headscarf glowing like a lighthouse in the haze. "Do you think I started, unsure of how to articulate my fear? Do you believe in fate or signs? Like coincidences that mean something?" She paused, thoughtfully wiping her hands on her apron. "I believe we're all part of a bigger story. Sometimes a small thing, a word, a glance can shift the entire trajectory of our lives." A small flicker of recognition ignited inside me. The note she had given me earlier felt heavier in my pocket. It wasn't just a small piece of paper. It was a reminder to look for the silver linings even if they felt minuscule against the backdrop of uncertainty. I took a deep breath, and for the first time, I felt the tug of something deeper, the need to understand. Did that woman have something to reveal? Was she the keeper of secrets about my life that I had yet to uncover? I shook my head, clearing the thoughts like cobwebs. I didn't want to play a part in whatever dark narrative was unfolding around me. I glanced at the barista again. "What if a person hurts you? How do you find the strength to keep going?" Her eyes softened, as if she had seen her share of pain. "You lean on the people around you. You find the ones who lift you up." I nodded, grateful yet uncertain about my own ability to lean on anyone. But still the image of Leo blossomed in my mind, his unwavering belief in me, his laughter like a balm against my worries. Instead of feeling further away from him, I felt a magnetic pull toward bridging the gap once more. Gathering my courage, I slid my phone from my pocket. Riddled with anxiety, I stared at the screen, my thumb jittering just above Leo's contact. What if he dismissed my concerns? Or worse, what if he was drawn into this darkness with me? I hesitated, but a memory of his smile anchored me, giving me a push I needed. And then it happened. The cafe door swung open once again, drawing my attention as the familiar chill settled over me. This time, it wasn't the stormy-eyed woman who appeared, but a disheveled man in a brown coat. He looked frantic, his eyes wide with urgency scanning the room until they landed on me. "Hey!" he shouted, a stark contrast to the cafe's calm. "You need to get out of here. Now!" Gasps erupted around me as the barista stepped back, bewildered. "What is going on?" she asked, her face a mask of concern. "Please! You have to listen to me." The man's voice cracked with desperation. "They're coming for you. They know you're here." Panic surged. My heart raced as the cafe swelled with chaos. My mind screamed for clarity amidst the cacophony, but all I could focus on was the man's warning. "Who is coming?" I croaked, fighting to keep my voice steady. He began to plead, but before he could say more, he caught sight of something behind me. The look of fear in his eyes paralyzed my breath. I turned around slowly, dread filling the air anew, hoping that I was wrong. There she was, the stormy-eyed woman standing just outside the door, her gaze intent on me through the glass. The woman with the cryptic messages and haunting warnings. A cold sweat trickled down my spine as the barista grabbed my arm, pulling me back. "We need to," but before she could finish, a dark figure stood beside the woman, looming possessively. My breath hitched, clenching my phone in my hand. I had been dumbfounded by her words, but now I had to act. The man's message crashed over me again. "They know you're here." Hope flickered and dwindled as uncertainty crowded around the edges of my mind. What was I supposed to do now? "Run!" I shouted, my voice shattering the panic, fueling a desperate spark of hope. "Run!" Everyone, including the barista, stumbled back toward the kitchen while I remained fixed in place, the tug of fate of more than just this moment drawing me closer to the woman outside. The man turned in my direction, bewildered by my sudden stillness, but I didn't waver. Whatever game was being played, I was going to face it head-on. The truth hung tantalizingly close, wrapped in shadows of dread and uncertainty. And as I locked eyes with the woman again, I realized the darkness wouldn't swallow me whole. I would rise, fear and all, and find whatever light remained within. But as chaos enveloped the cafe, the realization hit me like a freight train. I was standing at the edge of a precipice, and the truth, whatever it may be, lay just beyond reach. I stood paralyzed, the adrenaline coursing through my veins as I stared into the woman's piercing eyes. The cafe was engulfed in panic, tables overturned, chairs scraping across the tiled floor as people scrambled toward the exits. Yet I felt suspended in time, entranced by the unyielding intensity of her gaze. "Please trust me." The disheveled man's voice shattered my reverie. "You can't stay here." But the woman didn't move, her form still as the storm outside. I could hear the whispers of the barista calling for calm, and the distant thump of someone colliding with the door, desperate to escape. Despite the chaos, all noise faded into a muffled backdrop, leaving just me and the woman locked in a battle of wills. "Who are you?" I croaked, forcing my voice to sound steadier than my heart felt. A desperate question, but one I needed answered. She took a step forward, her movements deliberate and unhurried, as if she delighted in drawing out the tension. "You've been searching for answers," she stated, her voice calm, almost hypnotic, cutting through the thrumming panic around us. "It's time for the truth." I took a cautious step back, instinctively retreating from the storm brewing within. "What truth? What do you know?" "Enough to help you understand why they are looking for you," she replied, her eyes flickering with a spark of something fear, perhaps. Or was it something darker? The man shifted nervously beside me, glancing around, as if the very walls of this cafe were closing in. "You can't trust her," he urged. "If you want to live, you need to come with me. Now." My mind raced, torn between fear and curiosity. Here stood the woman who had haunted my thoughts, the catalyst of my dread, yet there was also something in her stance, a desperate kind of resolve. The man's urgency added fuel to my uncertain nature, but what if there was a flicker of truth in the woman's words? Just then, the cafe door swung open wider, and I saw the menacing figure from earlier, the dark outline standing solidly beside the woman, followed by a thin line of others. They moved with an unsettling confidence, a calculated gait that hinted at foreboding intentions. My pulse quickened, reality crashing down as I realized the very air shifted, pregnant with the sense that the moment was unraveling. "Run!" I shouted again, but I found myself still rooted in place, a tempest of thoughts battling within. The messages had always felt ominous, yet faced with the potential of this confrontation, dread mixed with an unexpected thrill of potential revelations danced in my chest. The barista's voice broke through again, snapping me from my daze. "Get out! Now!" she was yelling, pointing toward the back door where a side alley offered a potential escape. Her courage ignited a tiny flame in my heart, emboldening me against the darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. "You're running out of time," the man shouted, his desperation apparent as he grabbed my arm. "Please!" With the world threatening to cave in, I made the choice. Before I could second-guess the decision, I tore myself away from the woman's gaze and sprinted toward the back door, dragging the man with me. The cafe erupted in a cacophony of alarm, a mixture of desperate shouts and the crash of falling objects scrambling against one another. "Go! Go!" I heard the barista shout, her encouragement ringing in my ears as I pushed forward. The alley's cold air slapped me in the face, sharp and revitalizing as I barreled into the exposed exit. My mind raced as I turned to look back, searching for signs of the chaos that followed us. But as we dashed around the corner, I stumbled on loose gravel and fell hard, pain jolting up my leg. The man helped me up, urgency etched across his features. "You can't stop. They'll find you." Gritting my teeth, I pushed against the sharp sting in my knee and hurried on. But fear whispered more loudly than ever now. "What are they after?" I gasped, struggling to keep pace. Even as adrenaline propelled us forward, the man halted for just long enough to catch my eye. "You have something they need. Something powerful." His words hung heavily in the air, a weight that sent a shiver down my spine. A part of me had yearned for illumination, yet another part quaked at what that might entail. "What do you mean?" But before he could respond, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the alleyway behind us. My stomach dropped as the realization settled in a ruthless pursuit was underway. "Run!" I screamed again, but no longer was it just a command, this was an instinct rooted in pure survival. As we sprinted deeper into the labyrinth of the city, desperation flowed through my veins. Yet, amidst all the danger, a flicker of hope ignited at the edges of my fear. I had not yet delved into the fragments of my past, the signs, the whispers. Was this chaos leading me toward them? Then, without warning, a blaring horn exploded from the street ahead, drowning out all other sound. I skidded to a halt, heart racing. Colored lights danced before my eyes, illuminating a scene of shouting and chaos. What I began, but before I could finish, the man squeezed my arm tighter, his eyes widening with horror as he glimpsed something over my shoulder. I turned, and my heart froze in terror as a relentless group emerged from the corner ahead. A chilling realization washed over me. Not only had I stepped into a whirlwind of danger, but also I was about to uncover the depths of a dark truth I never sought, and with it, the shattering of my reality. The end of this flight felt like the beginning of something far greater and more terrifying than I had ever imagined. I never imagined that a mundane parking spot would lead to a heart-stopping confrontation. As I stood paralyzed, caught between the harrowing figures emerging from the shadows and the urgent tugging of the man by my side, the cacophony of the street rushed back in a clash of sirens, honking horns, and shouts ringing in my ears. Despite the chaos swirling around me, I felt my world close in, drowning in the weight of impending doom and unanswered questions. "Move!" the man shouted, snapping me from my stupor. With instinct taking over, I turned on my heel and ran, my feet pounding against the hard pavement, pounding against the impending truth I had been so desperate to understand. We rushed past dozens of parked cars, most a vivid hue of crimson, azure, or silver, each a remnant of lives untouched by our panic. But no refuge or escape materialized. Instead, the noise followed heavy footsteps only inches behind us as I darted between two cars, a flimsy shield against the unforgiving world. The man glanced back, his face drawn into a mask of fear that twisted something deep within my chest. "Why are they after us?" I gasped, the air dragged from my lungs in ragged bursts. "They want to use you for something you can't even comprehend. It's vital you stay away from them." His voice trembled, a flicker of panic weaving through the urgency. "What do you mean?" But before he could answer, the relentless pursuers closing in appeared at the corner of my vision. They were closer than before, sharp silhouettes against the flickering streetlights, their faces a convergence of resolve and malice. "There!" I shouted, pointing toward a narrow alley on the opposite side of the road. "We can go through there." I had no time to question whether it would really lead us to safety. Instead, fear lit a fire beneath my feet, propelling me forward. We dashed into the alley, cloaked by shadows that seemed to swallow us whole. Yet it also held a sinister air, layered in the scent of damp concrete, and something bitterly sweet, remnants of fear and whispers, like remnants of secrets dark and entangled. We skidded to a halt at a jagged corner, where the light barely penetrated in the evening gloom. My heart thudded like a war drum in my chest. What do they want from me? Why am I so important? I struggled to catch my breath, desperate for clarity amid the chaos. "I told you, you have something powerful," he insisted, pacing wild-eyed. "They believe you can unlock secrets. You hold the key to something they've been searching for. Something ancient." I felt a lump rise in my throat. The term "something powerful" tossed about like a leaf in a storm conjured images of terrible things. "You mean?" I hesitated, the weight of his words heavy on my shoulders. "You think I'm special?" The man paused, his gaze softening momentarily. "No, not special in the way you think. It's about who you are inside, who you were meant to be. Trust me." His eyes glimmered with a hint of vulnerability that pierced through the fierceness of the moment. But as his grip held my arm firmly, a shattering realization cut through my confusion. The bruises on my skin, the ghostly echo of a long-lost truth tapping against the back of my mind, the memories I struggled to recall. They weren't just memories of a past forgotten. They were threads holding the fabric of my existence, fragile yet riddled with strength. The sound of footsteps echoed deeper into the alley, angry shouts piercing the quiet. "They're coming! We have to keep moving!" He tugged on my arm, dragging me into a sprint once more. Despite the urgent pace, a warmth blossomed inside me, ignited by the flicker of trust one felt toward him. In the depths of this nightmarish chase, perhaps this was it, my chance to piece together the quirks of my own identity, to discover why the whispers of the past never truly silenced. As we tore through the labyrinth of the alleyways, the maze began to change, a garden of hidden truths, memories interwoven with fear and longing. My mind raced with moments of clarity, tiny flashes of a life I barely recognized, a laughter in a sunlit room, voices calling out in joyous friendship, the warmth of familiarity contrasting the shadows closing in. Suddenly, the alley gave way to a vacant plaza, littered with debris and remnants of a vibrant past. We emerged into the open, a world cloaked in silence, eerily juxtaposed against the urgency of our flight. The man's gaze flicked left and right, scanning desperately for a means of escape, while I struggled to catch my breath amid the chaotic jumble of emotion surging within me. But then, from the murky recess of my mind, something stirred, a forgotten fragment of a story, pulsing with life. "Wait!" I exclaimed, suddenly unable to hold back the swell of memory that rushed forth. "There's a place. I think I know where to go." His eyes narrowed. As he studied me intensely, hope mingled with doubt. "Where?" "The old clock tower," I breathed, the recognition flooding through me. "I remember there's something important." The echo of destiny danced in the air, tinged with trepidation. Just as I turned to lead the way, shadows flickered near the alley's entrance, figures emerging to hunt us down once more. Their intent unwavering, their darkness threatening to close in and consume everything. Everything I had begun to piece together now rested in the balance. The time to run again loomed, but this time, a sliver of hope intertwined with danger, the promise of revelation beckoning from the dark spire of the clock tower. And I couldn't turn my back on it now, even as the atmosphere thickened with foreboding. The chase resumed, but with every pounding heartbeat, I felt it, the flicker of a purpose igniting in the depths of my being. A melody of bravery and dread cascaded through me as I darted forward, uncertain, yet resolutely drawn into the unknown. And with each step, the certainty dawned. The hunt would culminate not just in survival, but in a confrontation with a truth that would forever change everything. But just as we neared the clock tower, a shocking chorus of sirens erupted behind us, drowning out the stillness of the night, shedding light on the swirling shadows. My heart dropped in my chest as the figure slipped into view. The menacing presence I'd thought left behind had returned, armed with a resolve that promised to unravel everything. There was no turning back now. As we raced toward the tower, I realized the journey had become something far greater. It was not just about me anymore, but intertwined with those who dared to stand against the tide. The truth loomed ever closer, but so did the scream of an inevitable confrontation that would reveal it all. The clock tower loomed like a specter in the night, its dark silhouette cutting sharply against the star-strewn sky. We dashed up the uneven cobblestones slick with moisture, my heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of our hurried footfalls. Each pulse echoed with the weight of the reckoning that awaited us. As we approached the tower's grand archways, I felt an unsettling mixture of fear and exhilaration. I glanced at the stranger who had become my reluctant ally, and saw the line of determination etched across his face. It sparked a flicker of courage within me, an ember of hope igniting amidst the chaos surrounding our frenzied escape. "Is this really the place?" he asked, his breath coming in heavy gulps. "I know it is," I replied, though a tremor laced my voice. It's where I spent my childhood. I used to come here with my grandfather." He said there were hidden paths, doors to other world secrets nestled in the stones. His eyes widened momentarily, and I saw a flicker of recognition pass through his expression. "If we're going to find safety, we should look for an entrance that leads inside," he urged, scanning the periphery of the tower. We navigated through the archway, where the light-faded murals whispered untold stories, worn by time yet alive with memory. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation, each shadow wrapping around us, both comforting and confining. I could feel the history undulating throughout this sacred space, the past woven together with threads of longing and loss, waiting for someone to unearth its buried truths. Suddenly, from the corner of my eye, I spotted an inconspicuous door hidden behind a tangle of vines and ivy. I drew closer, my pulse quickening as I pushed against the frail wood. It groaned open, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling into darkness. "This way," I urged, adrenaline surging as I stepped confidently inside, pulling him along. The air grew cooler with each cautious step, and the dim light barely illuminated the inscriptions carved along the walls. My heart raced with the weight of nostalgia, voices still echoing in my mind, my grandfather's tales of adventure igniting a fierce notion within me. "Do you hear that?" the man whispered, halting mid-step. There it was, a sound barely discernible, like a faint chime, reverberating softly through the stillness. Instinctively, I reached out, my hand grazing the stones. Instantly, a pulse of energy filled my veins, vibrating through my body, whispering a promise of awakening. "What is it?" he asked, his voice a mix of fear and wonder. "I don't know, but it feels familiar." The sensation surged within me, as if the pulse were a heartbeat in tandem with my own. I closed my eyes, surrendering to this strange connection. Memories crashed forth in a torrent, days long lost yet radiant with laughter, the warmth of sunlight filtering through the leaves as I listened to my grandfather's voice recounting tales of bravery and wisdom. As I opened my eyes, I caught a glimpse of something glimmering in the distance, like the pulse of a star drawing me deeper within the tower. "We have to keep going," I urged, gripping his hand tighter. With renewed determination, we continued our ascent until we reached the apex of the staircase. The glimmer transformed into a soft, ethereal light spilling into a vast chamber. A massive clock, its intricate gears and mechanisms seemingly frozen in time, dominated the space. And there, on an altar of stone, nestled a shimmering orb radiating warmth and brilliance. "It's beautiful," the man breathed, all mingling with disbelief. "Do you think this is what they're searching for?" I whispered, both entranced and terrified. "It has to be. If you're tied to this, then so are they." His voice turned grave, while an urgency seeped into his demeanor. "We need to reach it before they do." As we stepped toward the glowing orb, the once distant pounding of footsteps echoed through the chamber, reverberating like a storm gathering momentum. My heart sank. Our pursuers were gaining ground, and darkness threatened to encase this hope as it loomed before us. "Stay close," he shouted, his urgency heightening, lunging forward. But just as we reached the lip of the altar, a shocking sound shattered the indifference of the evening, an explosion of thunderous footsteps, followed by harsh, menacing laughter from the shadows. The door we entered slammed open behind us, casting light over the terror that approached. The faces of our hunters emerging from the thicket of despair, their expressions twisted with malevolence, each one a key to unlocking the very fear that had slowly begun to unravel my existence. "We found you," one figure snarled, taking a step forward, shadows swirling around him. In that moment, I felt the fragile web of my past and present entwine. The desires for knowledge and safety clashed with the looming dread that threatened to consume every last fragment of who I was. "Now!" the man shouted, his voice breaking through the tumultuous noise as he lunged toward the orb. "Reach for it. You need to do it now." Yet another figure emerged, lunging at him with fierce speed, and suddenly everything froze. Time stilled, a moment suspended in the inexorable pull of fate. I dove forward instinctively, feeling a surge of energy course through me as I grasped the orb, its warmth bathing my hands, igniting a spark of something monumental awakening within. The chaos in the chamber erupted into wails of confusion. The hunt transformed into a writhing storm of chaos, and in that heartbeat, as the brightness of the orb enveloped us both, the world fractured. The figures closing and blurred like ghosts, and the tower drummed with echoes of fear and legacy. Just as the darkness threatened to close in around us, the orb exploded with a blinding light, and we were swallowed whole, the familiar weight of the chase lifting like a fog. But I felt a pang of loss, too, a heartbreaking split from the one person who had dared to delve into the unknown alongside me, and as shadows gathered around the tower, a whisper of my grandfather's voice echoed through the darkness, reminding me that I wasn't alone in this journey. With a final flash of brilliance, everything faded from my grasp. Yet the haunting truth lingered, brushing against my soul with a revelation more profound than even the deepest shadows of the night. I had taken the plunge into a destiny far greater than myself. I had stepped into the unknown. The chase was only just beginning, and with it, the haunting melody of past and present danced on the edge of my consciousness, urging me forward toward a truth and conflict that remained unresolved. In the void where clarity once thrived, I could feel it, something ancient stirring, longing to be known. And just as I braced for the unknown, the darkness whispered back, a promise that the true confrontation was far from over. The world swirled into existence one gradual breath at a time. I blinked, confusion engulfing my senses. The air was thick with the warmth of life, yet the stark reality of uncertainty clung to my skin like a second layer. I was lying on what felt like solid ground, the remnants of brilliance still flickering in my vision. The hallmark of fear gnawed at my consciousness, urging me to sit up, to analyze the immediate surroundings. As I lifted myself from the earth, my heart jolted violently. I was in a park, reminiscent of the one from my childhood, filled with vibrant flowers blooming amidst the overgrown grass, each petal capturing the essence of forgotten laughter. Yet, the familiarity lured me into a sinister sense of comfort. A wind rustled through the trees, spreading whispers that danced just out of my grasp. "Where are we?" The voice came out more frantic than intended, a tinge of desperation intertwined with disbelief. My eyes swept the serene scene, scanning for remnants of the chase, of the orb, of him, my ally, who had flown across dimensions with me as if tethered by an invisible thread. Cora! That voice, so achingly familiar, cut through the shadows. I turned, my breath catching in my throat as I met the man's gaze. He stood just a few paces away, his expression a cocktail of relief and confusion. "You're all right." But true to the treachery of fate, our reunion was short-lived. From the depths of the vibrant expanse, shadows crawled into the light, their malicious intentions festering like open wounds. A chorus of chilling laughter filled the air, echoing my deepest fears. I felt cold dread slice through me as figures emerged, a twisted reminder that safety was merely an illusion. I surged to my feet, instinctively reaching for him. "We need to move." But a wave of tumult crashed over us as a figure stepped forward, eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger. "You think you can escape?" Their sneer sliced through my resolve. "This realm is not as innocent as it appears. There will be no refuge for you here. What do you want from us?" My voice trembled, every word steeped in uncertainty. Shadows loomed larger, mocking our fleeting sense of safety. I could feel the pressure mounting. "The antique come here by chance." The man beside me stepped protectively in front, his stature defiant as he bared his teeth at the encroaching threat. "We haven't done anything wrong." "Oh, but you have," the voice taunted, echoing in the hidden recesses of my mind. "You touched the orb, dear girl. You unleashed something dangerous into the world, and now you must face the consequences." My eyes widened, the weight of their words crashing like thunder. "What do you mean?" I searched their faces, seeking clarity within the chaos. "We only wanted to find safety." "And you will?" the shadowed figure intoned, malice gleaming in their eyes. "But at a price." The man beside me turned to me, urgency twisting his features. "Cora, we have to figure out how to use the orb to our advantage. There has to be something we can." Before he could finish, the shadows surged, engulfing him in their greedy grasp. "No!" I shouted, lunging forward, but the darkness bounded back, stretching ferociously, as if taunting my desperation. "Let him go!" I cried, a scream slicing through the tension. My hands reached into the void instinctively, fueled by instinct, and a fear so primordial it clawed at my sanity. "Join us," the shadows hissed, their voices swirling like a tempest. "Embrace the power you've awakened." I hesitated, the flicker of doubt rooting me to the spot. To succumb would be to betray everything I loved, the purity of the world I had longed for, the warmth of my grandfather's hand, a complete surrender that could cost me not just him, but my very soul. I struggled against the currents that pulled me deeper into despair, and in that moment, a flicker of clarity ignited within me, a flickering flame of resolve born from the yearning for freedom. "I want to give in," I roared, defiance erupting from within. With that determination blossoming in my heart, the orb, the iridescent relic of possibility, became clear in my mind. An idea began to form, flickering like a beacon through the smog of fear. "The orb," I gasped, turning to my ally, who struggled in the tendrils that bound him. "If I hold on to it, maybe I can channel its power to free you." "Do it!" His voice rang out as thunderous as the pit in my stomach. "You can't let them take you too." A quick breath, an invocation of trust, was all it took to step forward. I reached for the still glimmering orb pulsating at the epicenter of the chaos, feeling its warmth tremble beneath my fingertips. In that moment, everything stood on the precipice of immovable gravity, time bending around us. Just as I grasped it, the shadows lunged. Without a second thought, I hurled the orb toward him, praying it would weave a bridge through the darkness. The world around us erupted into a cacophony of sound. An explosion of light engulfed him. The shadows howled in anger, their grip shattering with furious abandon. In an instant, he was free, yet the chaos only escalated as the shadows boiled over, threatening to engulf us both. And with that, I turned, eyes locked with his as the realization dawned upon us. We were caught in a whirlpool, freedom angled just beyond our reach, But in that brief moment, hope shimmered, a fragile, gossamer thread binding us together across the vast emptiness. But before I could act, before the warmth of that glimmering promise could fulfill its ties, the ground began to tremble. A crack ran through the earth beneath our feet, pulsating, as the shadows regrouped, congealing with venomous intent. My heart pounded in my chest as I screamed, "Run!" The labyrinth of fear sharpened around us, dread slipping into reality like smoke. And just as we turned to flee, a desolate voice echoed, reverberating through the tension-laden chamber, a voice I knew all too well. "You cannot escape your destiny, Cora. You are bound to us." The shadows roared, lurching once more, and as the ground beneath cracked open, a chilling reality set in. The fight was far from over, and the truth was waiting to ensnare us both in its shimmering grasp. The air crackled with tension, and I could feel the shadows closing in, their presence a suffocating cloak that threatened to swallow us whole. Heart racing, I grabbed Amanda's hand, my fingers intertwining with his as we charged towards the nearest exit. With every step I took, the ground seemed to writhe beneath us, a treacherous dance of uncertainty and fear. "Cora!" he shouted, his voice slicing through the chaotic tumult around us. "We need to find shelter. Just a moment of respite." I nodded, driven by a primal instinct to survive. Distant whispers clawed at my mind, tantalizing and sinister, yet I pushed them aside. Our focus remained locked on the path ahead, a narrow trail that, under normal circumstances, would have led us back to the safety of the park gate. But every inch felt like moving through quicksand. Just as the shadows threatened to engulf us, a flicker of luminosity caught my eye, a small, weathered gazebo nestled amidst the trees, its structure barely more than a shell framed by the encroaching gloom. "There! The gazebo!" I cried out, my voice trembling but determined. We sprinted, every heartbeat echoing in rhythm with our desperate breaths. As we slipped beneath the rickety roof, I turned to him, catching my breath, and for a split second, a sense of safety washed over me, though I knew it was only a temporary reprieve. "Cora, what are we going to do?" he gasped, his eyes wide with fear. "The orb. They'll come after it. It's the key to everything." "I know," I replied, clutching the orb that still pulsed warmly in my palm. But I couldn't shake the unease crawling through my veins. As remarkable as it was, its power felt perilous, like holding a live wire. If used recklessly, it could endanger us even further. Outside, the shadows swirled menacingly, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. "You think the shelter can protect you?" they polled, their tones sweetened with venom. "We are always near, Cora. Your decisions have consequences." He pulled me closer, his grip a lifeline amidst the encroaching fear. "We need to decide what to do. We can't let them control our fate." I closed my eyes, searching for a flicker of the clarity I had felt moments before. My thoughts raced, options spiraling in and out of view like shadows in distant corners. "We need to understand what they want from us," I murmured, hesitating to look directly into his eyes. "Understanding won't save us if we don't act," he shot back, urgency lacing his voice. The shadows battered against the gazebo, testing our fragile sanctuary. The weight of the orb in my hand pulsed against the growing fear inside me. As the darkness pressed closer, I felt the forbidden allure of its power, whispering promises of safety, of control. Staring at my reflections in its glimmering surface, I recalled the shimmering faces of my childhood. Those innocent memories surged with the mounting weight of my current reality. If we could figure out how to harness it, maybe we could turn the tide. The man glanced at me, confusion bleeding into determination. "What do you mean?" My heart raced as the possibility dawned. "What if we connect with it, see what it reveals? We might be able to channel its energy into something more, something that will push back against the shadows." His breath caught, a glimmer of hope igniting in his gaze. "All right, but we must be careful. We can't let them get to us." I took a deep breath and focused on the orb, energy flowing through my fingertips as I held it aloft, grounding myself as if I could weave my will into its essence. Slowly, I closed my eyes, an indication of clarity rising within me, calling forth the orb's mysteries. Suddenly, bright streams of light shot through my closed eyelids, exploding inside my mind. Visions spilled forth, each more vibrant and complex than the last. I saw shadows swirling against a pulsing light, the shapes contorting. Fear mingled with blurred images of familiarity, as though threatening to consume me altogether. And there it was, a junction, a decision shrouded in light, a choice standing resolute across the waves. A possibility. But the vision shifted, morphing into scenes filled with dark figures, faces that I recognized, loved ones, friends. No! I gasped, opening my eyes to the truth shattered like glass around me. Their faces were twisted in anguish. What are they trying to do? We can't let this go on. He reached out, brushing his fingertips along the orb, igniting a new pulse. Cora, channel it. I felt the warmth between us twine and grow, illuminating our surroundings. But instead of holding back, the shadows surged, howling like distant banshees, clawing at our sanctuary with renewed fury. In that moment, it clicked: the shadows weren't just entities to conquer. They embodied everything I had fought against, the darkness weighing down my soul. I realized I wasn't just fighting for survival, but for a chance to break the chains of fear shrouded in familiarity, the very specters haunting my dreams. But then, just as I gathered my resolve to unleash the orb's power, a familiar voice echoed through the tumult. Cora! They were here, my family. A loud crash echoed outside the gazebo, and as I turned to face the rending chaos, I caught their silhouettes against the encroaching darkness. No! I whispered, my heart plummeting as dread shattered innovation. Not them. The man beside me mirrored my horror, grasping the orb, as though it could shield us from this impending devastation. We have to act now, he urged, desperation lacing every syllable. With panic lacing through me, I channeled my energy into the orb, willing its brilliance to overcome the onslaught, to push back against the shadows, to safeguard the fleeting moments with my loved ones. But with all my heart, I feared I was sealing their fates as shadows crept closer, consuming everything around me. A shadow emerged from the fray, its eyes locking onto mine, whispering, chilling, "The price will be paid, Cora." And in that moment, as the love of my family collided with the shadows clawing for control, everything reached a harrowing climax, suspending reality in a delicate balance, hovering on the edge of devastation, secrets poised to unfold amidst a desperate struggle for survival. The world around me felt like it was unraveling. As the darkness surged, swallowing memories and intentions alike, I gripped the orb tighter, its warmth pulsing against my palms, a tether to the light that had flickered within me. Time seemed to suspend as I stared into the abyss of shadow and fear, every ounce of courage I had felt ebbing away. Cora, please! The man beside me urged, desperation clawing at his voice. You have to do this. Fight back. But as I glanced between him and the figures emerging, those I loved, I felt the weight of doubt crush down like a stone. My heart raced with the knowledge that this was no simple battle. It was a war of intention, a reckoning with the shadows that had haunted me for far too long. Make a choice. The voice echoed through the blackness, sneering as it lingered in the air. Those you care for will pay the price for your defiance. With bated breath, I focused on the orb again. Deep inside, a profound stirring ignited. My grandfather's voice rang back to me through the haze, a whisper of warmth, the tales of light woven from his love. I closed my eyes, reconnecting with the memories of laughter, light, and life, allowing those feelings to wash over me, breaking through the walls built from fear and doubt. The shadows swirled menacingly, echoing the struggle between light and dark. And in that raw moment of clarity, I finally understood what needed to be done. This orb was not merely a weapon against the darkness. It was a mirror reflecting my soul, my past, and every decision I had ever made. My family, my ally, they were not simply collateral in this storm, but the very essence of my desire to overcome. They were my roots, each name sparking fire. I turned to the man, resolute and clear. "Trust in this," I said, my voice steady. "We can channel the power together, but we must connect to what we truly stand for." With that thought pulsing brightly within me, I reached for the orb once again, inviting him to join me. As his fingers touched mine, a cascade of warmth engulfed us, binding our intentions together as one. "Focus on the love, the connection," I breathed, remembering their smiling faces and warm embraces. With a sudden rush, a violent wave of light erupted from the orb, fighting against the encroaching shadows. The darkness writhed and shrieked, splintering apart like shattered glass. I could feel my family, wrapped in that beam of energy, their very essence intertwining with ours. They weren't here for me to protect. They were here to fight alongside me, to be reunited in strength. Suddenly, the shadowed voices melded into a singular, chilling scream. "You cannot betray us. Watch me," I shouted, standing firm, my voice ringing with the courage of all that I had carried. "We are not defined by fear, not anymore." The orb pulsed brightly, illuminating the surface of the gazebo as pure energy crackled between us, pushing back the darkness inch by inch. Each sensation flooded me with warmth, each memory reinforcing my resolve. I could hear my family as voices mingling with the light, the promise of love and unity coursing through my veins, as if we were all intertwined in a delicate dance against despair. And just as we stood there, encased in radiant light, the shadows stumbled, their bodies twisting and twisting until they turned away, a gnarled shell of what they once were. "This isn't over," came the haunting voice, then as a whisper, echoing against the vast sky. But we didn't relent. The light enveloped us, cascading joyously, scattering the darkness like ash. Within that moment of clarity, within that ephemeral burst of energy, the realization washed over me like a newfound dawn. This struggle had not only been about the shadows. It had awakened me to the shadows within my self-doubt, fear, uncertainty. For as we illuminated the darkness, we connected with all that we loved, reminding me that real power came from forgiveness, acceptance, and the courage to move forward. With every ounce of energy igniting within me, the pull of home beckoned like a distant star. I realized that it wasn't just about evading evil. It was about embracing life, stepping beyond the fear of what came next. The shadows dispersed into silence, and finally, we stood amidst a tranquil space bathed in warm light, free from the predatory cadence of darkness. But then, a soft echo of laughter cut through the quiet. A gentle voice beckoned from beyond the veil. I turned to the man, my heart swelling with gratitude. "We did it together." "I never doubted you," he replied, relief lighting his features. The air settled softly, and in the stillness, I heard it, a comforting whisper that broadened my heart. A glimpse into possibilities unfolded around me, a world shimmering with hope. And within that embrace, I inhaled deeply, knowing that I was no longer alone. Fears had lost their hold. But as we breathed in the serenity, the shadows lingered at the edges of the reality we had forged, a reminder that our choices had shaped this moment. Then, a single thought echoed, "I embrace who I am, and I stand at the cusp of my own story, unchained, unafraid, and forever in pursuit of the light." And as we stepped forward into the warmth of this newfound existence, a gentle wind brushed against our skin, each gust carrying the caress of destiny, ushering us toward a new beginning, and I knew at once, without reservation, that I was ready for whatever would come next.